San Diego State Aztecs arguably have the best helmet in college football. They've got arguably one of the best front sevens on defense in the group of five. The Ohio Bobcats have one of the most underrated quarterbacks in all of the country. I can promise you, after week 0, everybody is going to know who Curtis Rourke is, the quarterback for Ohio. Welcome, for the first time ever, to Group of Five Live, the first and only Saturday morning pregame show dedicated specifically to the Group of Five. If you're new here, if you don't know who we are the Group of Five guys. Our mission is to be the voice and to be the pride of the Group of Five football programs that the mainstream sports media is refusing to do. Like I said, if you're new here, we need your help. We need you to go to all the social media platforms. Follow us at Group of Five Guys. Go to YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you stream podcasts or live stream shows like this. Subscribe to the channel, give us a 5-star rating and review, and tell everybody all about us. Group of Five Live for the first time in history. We will be taking this thing to the streets starting week 1. We will be live from New Orleans, Tulane versus South Alabama. Cannot wait. But today, week 0, 7 football games today, boys and girls. And it ain't a bad slate. And we got 3 of them, 3 opportunities, Group of 5 going up to the Power 5, starting with Navy versus Notre Dame in Ireland. Tipton, do we have a shot in any of these 3 games? You got Navy, 3 touchdown dogs versus Notre Dame. You got Hawaii, almost 3 touchdown dogs at Vanderbilt and Nashville. And you got San Jose State, 30-point dogs at USC.
So I think out of those 3 games, I think Navy actually has the best chance for an upset in week 0. You got these teams traveling to Dublin, Ireland, and then the Navy. Now, here's the thing, though. We're used to Navy, the triple option, running the ball most of the game, maybe passing the ball 1, 2, 3 times during the game. But everything I've been reading, Navy's gonna maybe throw the ball a little more starting this season. So it looks like they might be changing a few things on offense. Not completely changing, but it's just a slight change. Does that help them? Maybe. There's also some uncertainty on Notre Dame's side. They have a new starting quarterback this year. Sprouse, you remember the name off the top of his
Yes,
top of your head?
Sam
He's
from Wake Forest.
Wake Forest, correct? Yeah. So I mean, there could be some early first game struggles there on Notre Dame's side. But I mean, Notre Dame they have a good defense. So I think we talked about this earlier this week. This could be a low scoring game, especially if Navy's able to move the ball, get first downs, keep the clock rolling. We picked, this is one of our games. We think this game is going to go under the 50.5 points. But if Navy is able to move the ball on this Notre Dame defense and keep the game close going into the fourth quarter, I think they would have the best chance out of these 3 Group of 5 versus Power 5 matchups in week 0.
Yeah, and I don't think, unfortunately, Hawaii's got a shot going to Vanderbilt. As bad as Vanderbilt is, Hawaii's not very good. And then San Jose State going to USC. He got the Heisman Trophy winner. He's probably going to win it again. They're trying to make a statement. 30 is a lot of points, but Jeff, you think San Jose State has any chance in hell in Los Angeles?
I think it's going to be tough for him for sure. Just the size difference up front is always an issue in those games. But what I'm really excited to see is, I mean, in my opinion, Shavon Cordero is one of the best quarterbacks in the Group of 5. He's definitely the top of the class in the Mountain West. So this is a big test right away for him. So I'm just excited to watch him play, see what he can do, get a look at these running backs. And he lost his top receiver last year. So I'm excited to see what this batch of receivers looks like coming in, because they are my pick to win the Mountain West this year. So I don't think they have a chance to win, but I'd like to at least see him be pretty competitive, at least through the first half, the first 3 quarters.
Yeah, I like to see Cordero at least perform well, uh, put his name on the map a little bit on the national side. Um, well, before we get into the group of five games, couple conference games, couple non-conference games, we got a little bit of breaking news earlier in the week. The Beavers of Oregon State, little meeting with the Mountain West Conference. This is the first time we've had a Power Five team looking to make the switch, and I like it. I think it's smart on Oregon State because I think they're going to get left out in any kind of Big Ten, certainly SEC moves. And the Mountain West fits them geographically. There'd be some pretty good rivalries for Oregon State right away.
Yeah, I agree. And it's Oregon State and it's Washington State. I think that are going to be the two that are going to be left. I think that rivalry between Cal and Stanford, it goes back so long. If anybody's going to take one of them, I think they'll end up taking both of those guys, especially academically wise. Those schools are so great. So I think it's going to be Oregon State, Washington State being left out. Now the question is, are they going to merge into the Mountain West, or is the Pac-4 or 2 going to try and absorb the teams in the Mountain West and you get some new conference? I don't know, but I do know this. If any of the Mountain West teams do want to leave, if they're going to try and add to the Pac-12, you're talking $34 million buyout by those schools trying to leave the Mountain West. And I think that was one of the reasons why San Diego State ultimately ended up did not leave earlier in the year when there were talks about them going to the Pac-12, was because of that number. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think as far as fit goes, I think they just come on to the Mountain West. It's a great conference. Honestly, it's been a better top to bottom conference, in my opinion, than the Pac-12 has, at least in the last decade, minus Oregon at a few years and USC. But when you got Boise, Fresno State, San Diego State, I mean, very, very good teams. Wyoming had a very good season not too many years ago. So I just think that it makes more sense for them to jump into the Mountain West.
Yeah, I agree. And the talk too is I think SMU and potentially Tulane, the ACC is looking at snatching from the American, which, I don't know that the ACC, if they lose a Florida State and potentially a Clemson, I mean, that conference becomes pretty bad. So it's almost, I just don't know, other than the TV deal, which that'll change at some point. Like, these are not lifetime deals. So you got to look at the long term on this. And if that conference becomes a worse conference than the one you're currently in, you just never know. I think it's too big of a risk to try to make that jump, but it seems like SMU and Tulane are wanting to. It's just a matter of whether the ACC wants them. But I'll tell you this. We got football, guys. We got Group of 5 on Group of 5 football. We got 4 other games this week. I'm going to start off. This is the one that everybody thinks is a bad game. UMass, New Mexico State. Everybody's looking at like these two teams are so bad. Both are in the. I looked earlier in the week. I think both are in ESPN's bottom 10. Line on this is 8 at the moment. It's been moving a little bit. It's been moving back and forth a little bit all week. But Swag, UMass has been one of the worst teams in the country for a long time. New Mexico State's been not good. What's your first initial thoughts on this ball game?
My first initial thoughts from earlier this week was, maybe it's time for UMass to start week 0 out on a good note, going to New Mexico State and shocking the week 0 world kind of deal. However, that being said, just going back and looking what UMass has done in the past 3 or 4 years, it's just not good. They're the most consistently bad team. So if you want to go based off of just history, you want to go with New Mexico State. Jeff's been preaching it all year. They have a good quarterback. Their offense is going to be vastly improved. It's going to be a challenge for UMass to come in there. And Tip, I had the coach's name right in front of me. He got there last year and he basically just put up a goose egg of the season.
Don Brown.
Yeah, Don Brown. I mean, he has a good history on him. He's not doing that well at UMass right now. I know He's trying to get his troops fired up. Obviously, it's a new slate, new season. It's a big game for them, but they might be the worst team in the country right now. Just preseason polls, like they're going up against the steepest mountain against everybody else. I feel like.
Well, and New Mexico State, they won 7 games last year. This is not a team. They were 2 wins the year before, and I think 1 win the year before that. So they've been bad. But last year, this was a bowl team, and they returned 9 starters on offense, including Murph's guy Pavia, the quarterback.
Love that
guy. So this is not this is not a which bad team wins. I mean, I think New Mexico State is a good team.
Yeah, I agree. And it's Jerry Kill's second year, and he's been proven to be able to grow and build great offensive lines in his coaching history. And that's one of the reasons why I think they're going to be much improved. I think that O-line's going to be better. I think Pavia's going to have a huge step up this year. And he had a great win last year against Liberty. They beat Liberty, and check these stats out: 214 yards passing against Liberty, 3 touchdowns, another 125 rushing yards, and another 3 touchdowns on the ground. So this guy's a dual threat type of guy. He can take off if the route's not working or something breaks down, and that's, to me, his biggest strength. And I just think it's going to be hard for UMass, who was one of the worst teams on the road last year too. I just think it's so much, you're asking so much improvement over one season in UMass, when New Mexico State, especially, they went 0-4 to start the season, but after beating Hawaii 45-26, they won 6 of their last 8, including beating Bowling Green in that bowl game. I just think New Mexico State is going to have some carryover from last year, and they're going to be an exciting team to watch.
Yeah, New Mexico State beat UMass by 10 last year. The line on this is 8 as we speak.
Maybe that's why that's where the line is then. Maybe that's
why. And I mean, New Mexico State, they won 7 games. They weren't all, they beat Lamar, they beat UMass. So they had some, I don't want to call anybody a cupcake, but they had some wins that were pretty much in the bag. But that being said, this New Mexico State team is quite a bit better. And like Murph said, once they figured out how to win, they started winning, and they won a bunch in a row. So
something interesting about this transfer portal era, though, because you look at UMass, you can't look at it last year, even though I'm going to contradict what I just said, because they haven't been good the past 3 or 4 years consistently. But it's hard to say it's the same team from last year. They did get some transfers in there. They have a handful of transfers, hoping to turn that team around. But going back to what you said, Sprouse, it's kind of a slap in New Mexico State's face, having only been -8 against probably the worst preseason ranked team in the country.
UMass has a good defense, so that's probably baked into that line a little bit, I would guess. But I don't think, at least last year, like you mentioned, Jesse. It's possible you got these transfers coming in that can make an immediate impact, but I don't think their offense can score enough points. New Mexico State has so much returning on offense for this season. I think they'll. We mentioned it earlier this week. This is one of our locks of the week. We think New Mexico State covers the 7 or 8 point spread, whatever it's at. Simply because I don't think UMass's offense can keep up with New Mexico State.
Well, I will say this. Earlier in the week, they announced their starting quarterback for this game. It's not the 2 guys that played last year. I'm not going to try to pronounce this guy's last name. His first name's Tyson, or Tyson. And he spent time at Clemson. He spent time at Georgia Tech. Coach Don Brown said that he had the best camp out of all 3 guys, and he just really feels that their offense is going to be much better with him at the helm, and he's looking for them to be vastly improved. That being said, they're not returning much on the outside. So, their quarterback situation may be better. Their coach feels better about the situation. I just still think that New Mexico State has too much firepower for them. If they're going to go toe-to-toe, I'm not sure that they can keep up.
I'm having deja vu. Did I last year, was I heavy on UMass and y'all were New Mexico State, and we made a personal bet on this? I swear it was like a week 0. Did they play week 0 last year?
No, they played a little bit
No.
later in the year. They played.
Maybe
We can go check the tape, but it wouldn't surprise
I
me.
know. Okay, this game seems familiar. Where I mean, deep down, my heart wants me to go with UMass. Like I love Cinderella. I want these guys to be good. I mean, there's nothing worse than the thing about that freshman that got there 3 years ago, and he's like, God bless, man. We only won 3 games so far. You want these guys to have a good season. So
Yeah, interesting enough, the line last year was only it was a 1-point spread, and it was a 10-point win for New Mexico State. So we'll see what happens this year. It's another one. All these games this week, it's pretty far distance traveling too.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're going from Massachusetts all the way down to New Mexico. That's a haul.
Yeah.
So that may play a factor. It's week 0. I think that's part of the reason the line is 8. It's nobody's real sure yet. But we'll see on that. This next game is a big one. I think it's a good one. I think, Vegas seems to think it's a good one too, because I think this line opened at 1.5. It's down to 1. UTEP going to Jacksonville, Alabama. Jacksonville State, their first ever home FBS ball game, a Conference USA conference game. Huge game. I'm going to start with Swag Bear on this game. What do you think? 1 point seems low to me on first glance, but give me your thoughts.
He's coming to me because I asked him personally before this because I have a confession to make. I'm changing my pick from what I had earlier this week. I was team UTEP, but after having some insider information, no names will be given, I've come to find out Jacksonville State is not scared of UTEP, and they are fired the you-know-what up. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Take the over. I think it's 71 points. I would take the over. Rich Rod is it not 71? Was it 54?
54.
Well, I must think another game. Sorry. 54. Take the over.
3 more touchdowns.
3 more touchdowns. Hell, it's going to be 71 points scored in this game. Rich Rod wants to score, and UTEP is going to be very good on offense. They have a really good offensive line. UTEP may have one of the best offensive lines in the Conference USA. They got 4 returning starters. Gavin Hardison, we preached about him a lot in the preseason. I think Tipton kind of hit the nail on the hammer last week, talking about how he's more of a systematic quarterback. Jack State, they're going to be good. And they have a quarterback that's been there for 7 years, Zion Webb. And they thought he wasn't going to come back this year. He is back. He's got experience. He's going to sling it. And that Jacksonville State defense, they're pretty good. They're pretty good. They've got 2 DNs. They're going to get after Gavin Hardison all night. Going back to what Tipton said, I did not realize, bad research. I'm going to come up here on live and say I was incorrect. I said they were an average team last year. They won the damn conference last year, and they got majority of their guys coming back. Jacksonville State, look out this season. They're going to be pretty damn good, and I'm telling you, I think they beat UTEP. I don't know if we're giving picks right now. I'm sorry, Espresso said that, but I think Jacksonville State is going to perform very well Saturday.
I'm not worried that you said your pick. I'm a little more worried that you said you hit the nail on the hammer.
Hammer on the nail ahead.
There
Whatever.
it is.
Whatever. It's atrocious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that Jacksonville State's going to be better than most everybody thinks. I just think UTEP is very good. I mean, we got on here. If they were playing New Mexico State, I'd be with you on this, but I think UTEP is a top 4 team in Conference USA, and I think the quarterback's too good. I think Gavin Hardison is the real deal. I mean, again, I don't know, and obviously Vegas thinks it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a great game. Another one where it's a long travel for UTEP, another one where you're going to see that crowd rocking. I mean, they've probably been tailgating since last night. I mean, place is going to be nuts. So
I think
we'll see.
I want to just add a couple more things, and I'll probably be quiet most of the podcast. I think where it's going to come down to, it's going to be similar to that Ohio and San Diego State game, is Jacksonville State's defensive line. How are they going to perform against that UTEP offensive line? The winner between in the trenches for that particular battle, I think is going to win the game. High scoring game. I really think it's going to be a high scoring game. It's going to be a lot of excitement in Jacksonville State. Vegas knows something. I am now very excited for that. And Jacksonville State, I mean, God bless. If you look at what they did last year running the ball, those guys are coming back too. They're going to run the ball on UTEP. I don't know how good UTEP's defense is, really not. Y'all three may know. I don't know how they're going to be on defense, but if their defense is suspect, look out.
Well, they were not great last year on defense. Now, I think they're going to be better this year. Tyree Smith is in the middle. He is going to have his hands full stopping that zone read. And then you got Praise Amawale. He has got to step up this game on the D-line and control the point of attack. And here's my thing. I think this game comes down, can UTEP's defense stop or at least slow down the Jacksonville State running game? Because if they can't, it's going to be a long day, and you're asking that offense to go score for score with them. Now, if they can slow that running game down, get JSU into third and long situations, I'm not so sold on Zion Webb as a thrower. He had 10 touchdowns last year, 9 interceptions. He has not done a good job in years past in protecting the ball. So if you're going to turn the ball over and give Gavin Hardison in this offense more possessions, they have the advantage. They got Deion Hankins at running back. He's a phenomenal running back. He was the number 2 guy last year, but had 700 yards, 3 touchdowns. But now he's the number 1 guy. He's plenty capable of leading that running game. And then you get their top receiver, Tyron Smith, back, which was a huge get. So now you got your top target on as a receiver. You got a great running back. And if Gavin Hardison can be consistent, and he played great against games like in Boise, and then he disappeared in other ones. If he can be consistent and show up game to game, that's why I had UTEP going all the way in Conference USA. But, time will tell. It's going to be I'm excited for this game. This is one of the games I'm most excited for this weekend.
I think if UTEP plays like they did against Boise State last year and beats them, I think they handle Jacksonville State. I really do. But correct me if I'm wrong. You're talking about Zion Webb throwing interceptions. I believe Gavin Hardison had a little bit of an issue last year throwing some interceptions. I think he had like 8 or 9.
He had 8.
So that Jacksonville defense, they're gonna be ball hawks as well.
Yeah,
I think that's my biggest question of this game is which Gavin Hardison's going to show up this game. We have no idea. I mean, we saw him against Boise last year. He only threw the ball 11 times that game, but 91% completion percentage in that game. But then the 2 games prior to that, New Mexico State, he threw for only 153 yards, 1 touchdown, 44% completion percentage. And then against New Mexico, he threw the ball 44 times, 280 yards, 43% completion percentage, no touchdowns, 3 interceptions. So he's just very inconsistent last year. Now, that I think that's, to me, that's everything in this game. If he comes out and is throwing the ball well, has a high completion percentage, and he's more consistent throughout the whole game and week to week, but we're just talking about this game against Jacksonville State. If he comes out and he plays well, I think there's a great chance they go to Jacksonville State and beat them.
Should be a good one. Vegas thinks it's the best game of the week, so we shall see. Moving on. FIU at La Tech. I want FIU to be good so bad, man. I do. I know Jesse likes La Tech this year. It's 10 points, double-digit spread in Ruston. Swag, I'll start with you first because I know you like La Tech.
It's kind of a coin toss, really, with these two teams. I mean, they are my dark horse, La Tech. I think they're going to have what's this, Cinderella year. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people. I don't think them beating FIU is going to be a surprise. FIU beating La Tech, that's going to be a surprise. I'm right there with you, Sprouse. I mean, if FIU does beat La Tech, it's not going to hurt my feelings. I mean, God bless. I want these guys to be good. I mean, I feel like this is the team that grinds all summer, and then it just doesn't pan out for them. So I hope tonight when they play, I hope that I want it to be a good ball game. I don't want La Tech to go over there and just spank them by 17, 21 points. I want it to be a good game.
I think it will be a good game, and FIU, they get the quarterback back. He's a good player, Grayson James. They got Bracey, the running back. He had a pretty good season last year. Last year they were hurt bad with injuries, which we know can happen with teams that are not great. Tyrese Chambers misses some time last year, and that screws up the whole season. But they did get some transfers in. They got some size on the O-line. They got some speed at the skill spots. It's to me, it's almost the same for me with talking about UTEP and Jacksonville State. Like if Jacksonville State, if it wasn't UTEP, FIU, if it wasn't La Tech, and it was, I don't know who in Conference USA, but I think it could be a good game. I think we got a chance at a really good game. Is La Tech gonna be as good as we think they are, or are they going to be like they were last year? Is FIU going to be better?
I'm going to jump off that bandwagon. If FIU beats La Tech, then I'm going to say my dark horse was incorrect. This game is going to make or break La Tech's season, I feel.
You think so? One game? I don't think one game determines it, but I will say
I think the same thing for Tulane and South Alabama next year. I mean, next week. I think that if Tulane loses South Alabama, it's going to wreck their season.
I don't know. Early losses are better than late, but I will say this. I think that the key to this game is for FIU, they typically always have at least a couple guys on that defensive line that are twitchy and that can go. And La Tech's weakness last year was their offensive line, in my opinion. They did a very poor job at protecting the quarterback. Can this La Tech offensive line hold up in pass pro, block for Hank Bachmeier? If FIU can get pressure on him, we've seen him in the past. When he gets pressure, he does not do well. So I think that, for me, that's the matchup that I'm looking at. FIU's front four against La Tech's offensive line. Who's going to win that battle, I think, will determine the game.
Well, FIU is trying to take a page out of FAU's book. Transfer Jack Daly coming in at nose tackle. He wears number 0. He ain't 356 like my boy Evan Anderson, but he's 315. Transfer from Bryant College, which is a Northeastern Conference FCS school. They're a decent program up there. But if he's getting penetration on the center, pushing them back, that's a huge point.
Yep.
As long as Bachmeier is not on his Bach, which they should be okay.
Well, if Bachmeier's got 315 in his grill.
If Bachmeier is getting stepped on by a 315 nose guard, then FIU's got a shot.
If he gets his toe stepped on by the center, taking a false step right there, I mean that's
the worst.
Yeah, maybe get
Have y'all been watching the Hard Knocks? I'm going to interrupt. Y'all been watching the Hard Knocks with the Jets this season?
No.
Have you been watching that yet? No,
no. But I love that you got like 3 documentaries and series that you come on here. But have y'all watched this?
It's football. It's preseason football time. I've been watching Hard Knocks, and there's this guy that's trying to make the New York Jets team. He's lined up as a nose. Sorry, no. He's lined up as like a nose guard on the
interior line.
Interior line, whatever.
Yeah.
Center for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a preseason game. Snaps the ball. He's expected the hardest block. Tell me one of the hardest things. If you want to say the cornerback is the hardest position in football, having to defend a quick wide receiver, be a center, snap the ball, try to stretch, and get your head around a 2-eye technique and try to push. So the nose guard ends up beating him, get a 3-yard loss, and then the center's over there. Everybody's just ragging on him. I'm like, it's the hardest block. If you're a nose guard and you make that tackle, it's not that impressive. It's just a hard block. It's a horrible play call by those coordinators. What it is.
Well, yeah, you gotta adjust. If you're the quarterback, you gotta adjust.
I can't tell you how many times I've had a quarterback underneath me, and then I snap it and I do a false step and I hit the quarterback's foot and he falls down.
Yeah, I'm right
Still
here.
got a scholarship somehow.
Yeah, I'm right here, Swaggy.
Yeah, I'm sorry for your feet. That was the worst thing about also linemen. I got my feet stepped on all the time by the guards. It's just the small things people don't think about. It's not getting hit helmet to helmet. It's getting stepped on
stuff,
and getting kicked in the shins and stuff. That
the worst is when it's like 30, 35, 40 degrees.
Yeah,
everything hurts worse.
Yeah. Well, before we talk about our game of the week, let's make some picks. I gotta say, guys, I am fired up that we are finally doing this thing live Saturday morning. So turn off ESPN, turn off Corso, which I haven't seen. I haven't looked to see if Corso's in the flesh. Wait, they're not even going anywhere. They didn't even go anywhere today, did they?
Are you asking if he's alive?
No, I'm asking if he's on game day.
Well, if he's alive, he's going to be on game day. He's going to die on that set.
He might. Anyway, I don't think they win. I don't think they went anywhere this week. I think they're waiting until week 1 to go. I'm not. I think they're going to Charlotte, right? But anyway,
Yes, they are.
so y'all can turn off game day. You don't want to talk about the same 5 schools over and over and over again and rotate their visits to campus. We're on this thing this year. So I am just fired up to be doing it. I'm fired up to see. We're going to be doing some of them on campus. Some of them are going to be at the local bar. Some of them are going to might be from your tailgate if you got a good enough setup. So y'all slide in the DMs on Twitter and Instagram, comment on YouTube. Tell us where we need to go. We're all set for the first 5 weeks, but tell us where we need to go after that. We'd love to hear it. But I can't wait. I'm jacked.
I'm ready for kickoff.
Start this thing. We got a few lined up already, so stay tuned on that. But let's make some picks on these 3 games. UMass at New Mexico State. Swaggy, who you got?
I'm thinking New Mexico State, just for history repeating itself.
Tip.
Don't bet dumb.
Yeah, don't think UMass's offense can keep up with New Mexico State's offense, so I'm going to go New Mexico State at home.
Murph.
New Mexico State, the Aggies, and I have them at 6.5 in my parlay from earlier in the week. Feel real good about that.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, New Mexico State. UTEP at Jacksonville State. Swaggy, you sticking with Jacksonville State?
Jacksonville State money line.
Tip.
Jacksonville State money line.
Murph.
Give me the Miners, straight up.
Jacksonville State has won 11 straight home openers. UTEP is 1-7, both straight up and against the spread in their last 8 road openers. But not tonight. Tonight, we skate with them. UTEP. UTEP gets the dub. I'm taking it. FIU at La Tech. Swag.
Louisiana. Tech.
Tip.
Yeah, this game I'm excited to see Hank Bachmeier in this Sonny Cumbie offense. Excited to see how he does in this offense tonight. I think he's Bach. I think he's gonna have a good season this year. I'm gonna go La Tech at home.
Murph.
I'm not sold on Bachmeier. I wasn't really a huge fan of him at Boise State, but I think the Bulldogs do enough to get the win over FIU.
Yeah, I'm not sold on La Tech in general. What do they win? 3 games last year. I mean, FIU beat them in 2 overtimes last year, by the way.
Yep.
That being said, I think La Tech wins. I think close. I think FIU may cover in this game. In the late game, CBS Sports, 9 p.m. Eastern. It's your last one. It's your nightcap. So should be a fun one. Bobcats of Ohio. Going to California, going to San Diego. Play the Aztecs. The Aztecs, let me tell you this. Boy, are they lucky they didn't make the switch to the Pac-12. I mean, man, talk about that's like they were going to, I made the comparison of them, breaking up with their girlfriend, but waiting to see if they had the other one first. I mean, that's like trying to break up, not breaking up, and then realizing the one you were trying to go to is pregnant. Somebody else's kid. I mean, this
do you guys
is like,
think they might have heard some rumors about these teams leaving the Pac-12, or do you just think
possibly?
It's a good point.
Possible.
That's just crazy. Like, it looked like for sure they were going to the Pac-12, and then all of a sudden they were back in the Mountain West. And then what was it, like a few weeks later is when all these teams started leaving the Pac-12?
It was like working at Facebook. It was like working at Facebook, and then you left to go work at Twitter. And then Elon Musk took over and fired everybody. And now Facebook won't let you come back. You're like, oh God. So thank God they didn't leave.
Yeah.
They didn't leave Facebook.
Yeah. They got lucky. Well, this is one of the most intriguing non-conference matchups really of the year. I mean, when we looked at all these conferences and we were excited to see the San Diego State, always good on defense. Ohio, Curtis Rourke, one of the best quarterbacks in the country. So let's talk about it. Murph, I want to go to you first. We talk about San Diego State's front 7. Their D-line's not quite as good as it was a year ago, but they're still very good. They always are. But Ohio, Curtis Rourke seems like he's healthy. So what are your opening thoughts? Is Curtis Rourke going to play, and is he going to be 100%?
Yeah, everything that I've read, all the reports are saying is he's good to go. He's healthy. Obviously, we'll see. We'll see a little bit later today, but I just think he's really one of the best quarterbacks in the country. I mean, if you just look at what he did last year, over 3,000 yards, 25 touchdowns, only 4 interceptions. I mean, this guy was dialed in all last year. He's had another, off season. Obviously, he had to rehab that knee, but and he's got so much talent around him coming back. His biggest question mark is up front, where I think they only returned 3 starters, but you get Bangura back, you get Sam Wiglu's, your top receiver coming back. I just think between Rourke and the skill players, like they're just it's too much for most teams to handle. They're gonna set the tone for that team, and they're gonna really put some points up this year. And yeah, San Diego State's defense has always been good, but they lost their 2 leading, if I'm not mistaken, their top 2 leading tacklers. So their linebacker is going to have to step up this year. They lost a couple of guys on the D line as well. And then Jalen Maiden that's the biggest question mark. He looked good at times last year. He didn't play the whole season. He got, thrown in there kind of midway, and definitely kind of revived that offense. But he's got to be more consistent. He can't turn the ball over as much. And they didn't normally they're known for their running backs, and they did not have a great running game last year. So they got to get back to the running game, control the tempo, control the clock, and play good defense. I just don't think it's going to be enough against one of the best, the best offense in the MAC, I think, and possibly one of the best offenses in the group of 5.
Well, San Diego State, if Maiden's going to have any success, they got to find a way to run the ball. They didn't have anybody rush over 450 yards on the whole season last year. So they've got to do something. And here's the other thing about it. If you're not running the ball, you're not great throwing the ball. That means you're probably going 3 and out very, very often. And then you're putting what should be a really good defense, you're just putting them in bad spots all the time. And I just don't think they're going to be a whole lot better on offense. I really don't. I mean, I don't know that Ohio's defense is great, but I think Ohio can score enough points. I mean, I think you score 21 points in this game, you're going to win it.
Yeah, and their top, target on the outside is Mark Redmond. He's a fantastic tight end, but you got to have somebody else that can stretch the field vertically, and you got to be able to take shots. But like you said, if you're one-dimensional on offense and you can't run the ball, and that's been your strength, I just don't see them coming out, chunking the ball 30, 40 times a game, putting up 300 or 400 yards, a game passing. So, if you're not doing that and you're unable to run the ball, now your defense is constantly on the field. It's going to get tired. And how that goes.
Yeah. I mean,
but they're at home.
Yeah, so, they're at home, and it's another one. It's a long way to travel. That's right. It's 7:00 Eastern, so you're going to be going from Ohio. That's 6 o'clock, but it's going to be 4 o'clock when they play here in a little bit. So, that doesn't matter. They probably got there Thursday night. So, I don't know. Were you guys ready to pick this thing or what?
Well, I mean. I'll pick it. I'll just give my comments from we pick. While you're already talking to me,
go for it.
I always preach about defense wins championships. Defense wins games. However, it doesn't. There is like a little clause in that, and that's if your offense can't do anything or be productive, like you said, Jeff. If your defense is just getting tired. They might be good the first half, but they're going to wear down third and fourth quarter. Ohio's very good on the offensive side of the ball. I'm an offensive line guy. I think they are studs on the offensive line. They have 4 returning starters, and last year they helped lead one of the most productive offenses. For about almost 4,000 yards in passing and over 2,000 yards rushing. I mean, they're a pretty dominant force. It's going to come down to that offensive line playing against that D line. And I think the San Diego State's D-line in the past, have they been good? Yes, but we don't know how they're going to be this year. they are always consistently reloading, but we don't know. We have no idea how good that D line is going to be. So I'm taking Ohio here. I think it's a smart choice. I think the offensive line for Ohio is going to wear down. It's crazy to say this, going to end up wearing down San Diego State's D line. And Curtis Rourke's going to have plenty of time, especially in the second half, to air it out and get some big time scores. So I like Ohio.
Tip.
So if there is a chance with this, with this deep line of San Diego State that they could get pressure on Curtis Rourke early in the game. But we all saw in that bowl game last year, MTSU against San Diego State, that exact same thing happened, and MTSU made adjustments on offense. And they started going east to west with the ball instead of north and south and trying to force to run the ball in between the tackles. So if we do see that, I see Ohio making adjustments because they have the talent on the outsides to be able to make that type of adjustment. I want to go back to a stat that I talked about in the podcast earlier this week. I think it's really important. Last season, when San Diego State's defense gave up 20 or more points, they were 1-5 in those games. I think Ohio's offense is going to score more than 20 points, and I do not think San Diego State's offense can keep up with Ohio's offense. So I am picking Ohio to win this game.
Murph.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Tip. I mean, they might be able to get pressure, and middle, their offensive line was beat up. They were thin in depth, and they still were able to get a win. I know that was last year's team, but Ohio's offensive line is far better than what middle's offensive line was last year. You got Tim Albin in his second year. They were 10-4 last year. He's going to have these guys ready to roll. I think he's a great coach, and when you have that much offensive firepower coming back, very interested to see how Rourke moves. He's a guy that has been known to move around, get outside of the pocket a little bit. I want to see him be the same guy that he was last year. So if he goes out there and he doesn't look, mobility wise like his old self, might be an issue. They might be able to get pressure on him. But even if they get some, if he's healthy and full, ready to go, he can get outside and make some plays with those receivers and running backs. So give me Ohio.
Yeah, we're going to go 4 for 4 on this, taking the dog. So I think this is the Curtis Rourke coming out party too. It's the primetime game. It's a 7 o'clock FS1 game. San Diego State, first of all, I'm rooting against them because of the stunt they tried to pull in the summer. So I'm not every other team we have. I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for their coach. I'm rooting for their players. I'm not rooting for San Diego State at all this season. But I think their defense is going to keep them in it. But then at the end of the game, like Jesse was talking about, at some point it's going to break if your offense is just irrelevant. At some point it's going to break and give up points. And I think that's what kind of game we're going to see. Like Tip said, I think Ohio's scoring 3 touchdowns on offense at least. I got the Bobcats going down there, winning on the road, getting a good start. Funny, we had Tim Albin on the warm seat list before last season when we got on with the Mac podcast there, and he probably gonna win Coach of the Year this year and get whatever extension he wants, and maybe have his phone ringing from some other places. So I got Ohio. I'm surprised we went 4 for 4 on that game. Ohio Bobcats winning it on the road. We made it. We got college football starting here in just a few minutes, boys and girls. It's going to be a hell of a ride.
Starting out in Dublin.
What a stupid game to start with. But we're excited to be doing this Group of 5 live. We'll be in New Orleans a week from today. Be on the lookout for where we're going to be at. Post it up. We're going to be coming in hot. It's going to be a quick show, and then we'll be hanging out in New Orleans until the game. Late game down there. Cannot wait to do it. Catch up with us on Tuesday for the regular podcast. We'll be recapping all of these games and talking a little bit of betting for week 1. If you like what you see, what you hear, we need your help. We need you to go on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. Subscribe to the channel. Give us a 5-star rating and review. Share it with your family and friends. Follow us on all the social media platforms at Group of Five Guys, or go to groupof5guys.com and get you some swag.
Get your prize picks in before the games start.
Get them in
Absolutely.
quick. You got a little extra time today because the first game's not until 2:30, but we got football here. Group of Five Guys, we're out of here.